All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another session, another weekly session of Building in Decentraland 101. Today, we have another special guest on, Definite Cash. And what we are going to spend the majority of today on is going to be animations, because the second builder competition does require animations. So, for anybody who might not be aware, oh, by the way, I see we got Lord Canwolf, Slater Raid, Erica Gloom, 4765655, Jinzin, what is up? How is it going? If anybody has any questions throughout this, please let Definite Cash and myself know, and we will address it. DJ EJ underscore 11, yo, what is up? But today we are going to go over animations, and just as a quick refresher, there is the builder competition number 2 in Decentraland that is going on. So in case you haven't accessed the Sandstorm platform before or don't know where to look, you can go to nft.sandstorm.co. They have received a $120,000 grant from Decentraland, and every 2 weeks host a builder competition in Decentraland with $5,000 cash up for grabs. So if you actually go under view builds here at the top, once you've signed in and connected your MetaMask wallet, you can scroll down and you will see DCL builder competition or contest number 2, a blip in time. So this is going to be open for submissions until 11:59 p.m. UTC this Friday, I believe. And what you want to do is make an iconic invention from a certain period in time, paying close attention to the actual time period that it was released. So if you're building something that is, I think the example I put in here was a boat. If you're building a boat, you got to build kind of like the first model of that type of boat that has been released and try to be historically accurate. But it will also require an animation. So that's what we will go over today. And if anybody has any questions about the builder competition, this is where you can find the additional details and make a submission. And then one other awesome thing that Sandstorm has going on before we get started is their weekly giveaway. So they've got weekly challenges going on throughout this month. And if you finish Myth Division's challenge in the Sandbox game social hub and follow Sandstorm Meetup and Myth Division using the hashtag Storm Challenge, you will be able to win the Sandbox game weapon NFT, the Chrysor Defenders. This actually looks pretty cool. So yeah, weekly giveaways on top of $5,000 cash prizes. That's what we do here, which is awesome. I love it, funding the builder community and that kind of growth. We are going to now transition over to Blender. So if anybody has questions over the competitions or how to submit, just let us know. But transitioning over to Blender, we are going to be going over animations today. And before I turn it over to Definite Cash, I'll just go over a couple of new things in Blender that we haven't introduced before. So if we look at what I got here, these are basically bones or armatures, as they're called in Blender. And what we are going to do today is actually use a new mode called the pose mode. And we are going to show you all how you can animate objects using bones and armatures and making, I don't know, weird things that look like this for some reason, because that's how that's turning out. And then we are also going to open up the dope sheet, which can be accessed here. We are on our dope sheet, and this is where we will key in our animations and the keyframes that we will be using. We'll also go over parenting and how you can weight paint your armature just using automatic weight painting to the actual objects we will be animating today. And then I think there were a couple of other things that I said in the tweet, but for the most part, this is what we're going to be covering. So just remembering that instead of edit mode, although we will still use it, we will be using the pose mode to actually position these armatures. We will be dragging up this dope sheet so that you can track and change the speed and your keyframes for the animation that you are creating, and then using the armature and the bone sections here to make sure everything is parented properly and that it is equally weight painted. But yeah, without further ado, I would like to introduce Definite Cash, who is an awesome dev in Decentraland and has done a lot of my animation work and does some awesome animation work. So Slaterade, if we want to go over to sharing Def Cash's screen, we'll get started. And yeah, Definite, if you just want to go ahead and do a quick introduction, I think that'd be great.
Hi everyone, I'm Definite Cash. I've been in Decentraland for over a year now, and I really started my wearable brand because, I wanted to immerse myself even more in the metaverse. And doing so, I've had to learn a lot of things, which require some skills, which we're going to show today because, most of the things I've learned on animations are because I have a need for something, and I've been watching YouTube videos and all night long and practicing, and this is kind of going to be like a compilation of what I've learned. So it's going to be a quick speed course because we're going to try and fit it in an hour or so, and we're going to be covering lots of different topics here. So the first thing I've got here is my cube. So you might have noticed I already deleted the basic stuff and then added a cube. So you can just go to add mesh and click on cube over here to do that. So this is our cube, and I'm just going to move it a little bit higher up. So if you click here on move, you can see you can actually move with these arrows. So each one of these arrows represents an axis. Alternatively, you can press G and then you don't have to click anything. It'll just move the cube. So I'm going to press escape and then just going to drag it up a little bit. So there we go. And the first thing when it comes to animations is making a simple turntable. So a turntable will basically look like the cube's rotating like that. So you ready to start DCL.curations?
Yes, and one thing I do want to to mention, because you said you deleted the light and the camera that show up in there, and so I do just want to mention that there are ways to kind of do like fake animations versus actually animating an object itself. And so just for reference, like if you had a camera in this scene, you could have a camera rotating around an object, and that would, when you render it, make it seem like this object itself is rotating. But alternatively, you could actually animate an object to rotate, and then when you render it and you place it into a scene, that object will be rotating versus just something happening through the lens of the camera, which you don't want to do if you're trying to animate something and put it into Decentraland. But yeah, I'm ready to get started.
Exactly. So the difference here is that what you mentioned, the method is to make the camera rotate around the object. But if you put that into Decentraland, your item will be stationary and there's a camera that's moving which you can't see. So there's no use of that. So what we're going to be doing is turning the object. And I will eventually add a camera at one point, and we're going to be talking about some settings to get a good picture and some talks about FPS because it will matter. And yeah, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do once you have your cube out is just click it. And I guess that's not the first thing. The first thing you want to do is decide how long your animation is going to be. So if we go to the camera picture over here, and we go to film, and we just quickly click on transparent, then our background will be transparent when we're clicking our film or filming our film. And then we click under the camera, it looks like a printer with a picture coming out. So once you click there, firstly, you'll see the format. So that's going to be the resolution that your film is going to come in. So we have by standard, or at least I have by default, 1920 by 1080, which is what you want for Twitter videos or anything like that. So you can pick the resolution here, and then here it says frame rate. So to make things easy, I'm just going to click it on 60. So we know that 60 frames equals to 1 second. And therefore, let's say we want a 5-second clip. We're going to make it 300 frames long.
And out of curiosity, there, why would somebody use 60 FPS or frames per second versus using 30 or using 20?
Well, it's really your personal choice. My point here that I'm trying to tell you is that you have to consider that your FPS and the number of frames that you have should be taken into account, because it's going to be how many seconds your video is going to be. So if you want like a quick 5-second video and you have 24 frames per second and then 2000 frames, it's going to be a lot longer. So you can use this as a reference point.
Okay, cool. So in this situation, 60 frames per second equals 1 second. So if you
Yeah.
wanted 5 minutes, this would be 300 frames, right?
No. Like, so 60 frames is 1 second. So
Right. So
600 frames is 10 seconds.
yes.
So I
Yep.
picked 300, so it's going to be a 5-second clip.
Perfect.
So because 300 is half of 600. So once we've done that, you'll notice that your dope sheet over here has gotten way longer. So if you just have your mouse here and you zoom out a little bit, you'll see that you can actually like scale it a little bit, so you can see the whole length of this. It's a timeline, so you can see it starts here, and we're going to pop that to 0 frames. And because I picked end at 300, it's going to finish at 300 frames. So this is really important because it sets how long your scene is going to be. And one more important thing, because if we animate our object now and we render it, and we're going to talk about all of these things later, don't worry. But if we do it now, we're going to end up with like 300 pictures, which is not what you want. You want a video. So you always have to go to File Format over here and click FFmpeg video, which is the one that the one that ends with video at the bottom right. So now it's going to be coming as a video when you save it. And if you want
Okay.
to find the file once you save it from Blender, you can pick wherever you want to save it. I've got it in a temp file because I make a lot of these, so you can pick wherever you want it to come. So now that that's sorted, we can actually start making our turntable. So I hope that's clear so far, because that was quite a lot of information.
Yeah, let me check the comments. I see one from Yuri206. Does the weight paint and deformers work in Decentraland?
So the weight paint, which we're going to talk about later, is essentially, it represents how much your armature or the bones move compared to the mesh. So if your weight painting isn't right, and we're going to go through all of this later, then when you move part of your bones, and if you imagine that you're moving your wrist in a circular way, and once you start doing that and your weight painting isn't right, it means that the balance isn't right. So your knuckle can be like spreading into one direction in a sharp vertex, and it's not gonna look natural. So we'll go into detail there, because that's jumping halfway into the show. But
I think that's yeah. So outside of that, I think that's the only question we have so
yeah, so
far.
I'll try to take that one in detail once we get to that section.
Okay, perfect.
So now
We're
we've got our
ready.
scene set up and everything's ready. And clicking on items matter, because if you just try to do it without clicking on it, it's not going to work. So for everyone who's new to Blender, you can grab this arm or hand over here to like get a better look at your cube. But now we're going to start putting a keyframe into our timeline. So I'm going to press I, and then you're going to see this insert keyframe menu pop up. So it really depends on what type of movement you want. If you just want to move the location, you can press on location. If you just want to turn it around, it's rotation, etc. But you can, and my advice would be to pick location, rotation, and scale, because then you can do all of them and you don't really have to keep a track of it. So now that we've clicked on that, you see a yellow square has popped up here on our timeline. So this is what our film or camera will capture on the first frame. So if I wanted to take a second to turn, I want to drag this here, so you can click on it over here and then drag it. So as we mentioned before, for my particular case, 60 frames equals 1 second. So now that our timeline is set over here, I need to move this object. So if I click on R, it's going to be ready to rotate. But as you saw there, that's pretty crazy. So we're going to click on R, and then now you can click on the letter of the axis you want to rotate. So if you want to rotate it on the Z axis, I click Z, and you can see now we can rotate it like this, which is what you would want.
And can we actually, for this portion, can you put on the transform at the top right so that people can see the degrees that are being rotated?
Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna do it like this because it's really vague what degree you're rotating. So what I wanted to say next is you can alternatively press R and then Z, and then now I hit 45. See, so now it's turned at a 45-degree angle.
I guess I'm just to like show it similar to
Yeah,
the statistics
yeah.
on the. I think it's a under.
So statistics.
Well, you can put on the statistics, but actually underneath it, there's a. If you go out of that, there's a little arrow poking out of the side under what is that, like options or something? Yeah, that little
It won't let me click on it.
arrow right there. Oh, that's weird. Maybe click on your object
There
for.
we go. Got
Yes,
it.
perfect.
Okay.
Yes, so this will actually show the rotation on the different axes, which is going to be very important when
Yeah.
it comes to the timeline.
Yeah. Alternatively, you can also click on this button over here. Nope, this one. And it's gonna show you the same stuff here.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, but this one is easier if you want it there. So we're gonna click on our object, click R, and then we want to rotate that on the Z axis. So click Z, and then I'm gonna click 90 now. So you won't even see that it's rotated, but it's very important to press enter now. And while the object's still highlighted, I'm gonna press I again, and you guessed it, location, rotation, and scale. And once I've done that, there's a second yellow square here on my time frame. So you might not know where we've done it, but we just rotated 90 degrees. So if I move this on the time frame now, you can see that the object, like every single frame, it moves. And the point of this is that now you can add another one at 120. So if I go to 120 and then I press R, Z, 90 again, and this is important. You don't want to do the math for Blender. You don't want to say, okay, now I want it at 180 degrees. You just want to say, turn it by 90. Turn it by however many degrees you want. You don't type the degree that you want to end up at because it's going to keep adding up. So we just click 90, enter, I, location, rotation, and scale, and there we've got our third point. Oh, I think I pressed too many angles when I did that explaining because it's rotating like crazy. So what you can do here is you can right click here and delete keyframe. Oh, see, you just want to delete one because now we've deleted all of them. So if you click here, you can see here we are at 8,000 degrees, which is not what we wanted. So if you click here and you type the degree you want, you got the angles you want. So we're going to go back to 0 from me because I messed up. So I, location, rotation, scale. We got that. Real quick, back to 60. Gonna press I, and once you get a hang of the shortcuts, it's gonna get way quicker and easier. So before I press the location, rotation, and scale, because I'm trying to do it in a hurry now, because I just messed up and got nervous, can't forget to rotate it. So R, Z, 90, and then we make the location, rotation, scale. And we got it moving. So you can do this as many times as you want. And if you do your math and you make it 4 times and you set that the timer ends at the right time, you're gonna have a perfect loop. So if you consider all those things, you can rotate these things indefinitely. But to film it, you're gonna need a camera. So we're gonna try and look for a nice angle here. I think this might be nice, and then we click on add, and then there's camera over here. So now
I do have a quick question on that. So so you can animate it and everything like that. And if you were to animate it, not insert a camera, would you still be able to render this animation, or do you literally have to have a camera to view
you
it
don't
through?
need a camera. So if you're gonna upload this to OpenSea, for example, you have the choice of uploading the 3D file or an animation of what you made. And for those cases, the camera is how you can get like your animation. So if you don't put the camera here, it's just gonna be the object moving.
Okay, got it.
So it doesn't matter, but if you put a camera, you can actually like take pictures of your object, so I would recommend having the camera. And if you have the camera in your file and you export it, you actually don't see the camera, so there's no harm of it being there.
And one more time, how did you put that camera in, just for
So we
everybody
just
that's
click on add over here, and then we go down to camera and you click it. So my
cool.
camera right now is like kind of under the screen, because everything that you add comes at this move selected item, like sorry, that's the wrong thing, this red and circle dot. So instead of like moving that with the G key and making my life difficult, I'm just gonna look for a nice angle, and maybe I'm gonna move this to 0 so we have the right frame. And then how about that? And then we go to view, which is next to add, and then you can go to align view. And once you're on align view, you click on align view, align active camera to view. So suddenly you got the square pop up here.
Okay, that's actually something I did not know about.
Yeah, so I guess there's just so many things when it comes to animations. And another cool thing is if you have like a detail on your block, which we do not, and you want to zoom in, you can just move the camera close and then, animate the camera on your timeline like we did with the cube, or you can even rotate the camera like on an angle. And then in your footage, it's going to be rotating, or, you can do some cool stuff just with the simple things we've done now. So we're just touching the basic concepts, because if we go and build a project on each one, I'm afraid we'll never get to the end one. But yeah, so here we got our camera, and then now I can click on G and move the camera around. So imagine your view wasn't perfect, and then now I can like center it, or like, this looks good to me. So I click the mouse, and I got that. And once you go to, firstly, if you want to get out of this mode, you can just click the center of your mouse wheel and rotate it, which is how you can rotate stuff. And you see our cameras over there, positioned how we wanted. And we can click on render animation. And you can see it's kind of dark because I haven't put a light, and it's got a transparent background. So you can just put this on whatever you want. But if you finished your render or the animations, you'll see it's still rendering all these frames, which is why you need to make sure that the file is the right length, because otherwise you'll have like the stationary object at the end, which is not what you want. But it's fine for the purpose of demonstrating the concept.
I mean, that could add hours to your render, couldn't it?
Yeah, but actually, speaking of this real quick, you have here in your camera over here, you have render engine, and currently we're on Eevee, or at least I am. And this is pretty quick because it doesn't make the light effects. So if you need lighting in your scene, which I'm just gonna do real quick because it's really important. So you just click on add and light. And then I'm gonna go with a point because it's the simplest one. And we just drag it up a little bit with the blue arrow. And then you got a light here. And if you wanna change how your Blender looks, so to say, you can click on Z. And you can see I'm in solid right now. So it's going to show you how the mesh looks like. But I can also click on rendered, and this is going to show you what it looks like through the camera. And you can see it's still quite dark for me because I deleted everything earlier. So I can click on this light bulb here and it says power. Just gonna drag this like crazy and you can see it already lights up the top of the cube. So yeah, so now if you make a render, it's gonna look a bit more lit. But if you want to watch the
Okay.
one that you made earlier, you just click on render and then view animation. And you can see we had that real quick spin and it's only 1 second of spinning because that's what I made it so far.
One other thing to note here. So like I personally never play around with lighting, but because I typically don't animate or render. I build something specifically for Decentraland and then I put that into Decentraland. So for anybody who's on the live stream right now, Def Cash is outside of rendering. Is there a need to light a scene if you're just building for Decentraland?
Well, Decentraland doesn't support lighting in the first place. So like I said before, I'm using the EV render engine. But if we click on cycles over here, and you'll see that it gets so much more pixelated and stuff. But now the lights, like especially when you move around. But like if I move around real quickly, you can see it like the resolution just drops. I hope you can see that. But that's because now it's calculating the light. And if you make a render now, it really will take a long time. But there's a little trick which you can do, which is a bit more of an expert level thing, is you can bake the lighting into your item. And then once you've done that, it means that the lighting that you put in your scene here on Blender is bouncing off your object. And it remembers how it bounces off the object. So if you save it with a baked lighting and then export that to Decentraland, it's gonna fake the lighting that you had in the scene. So you don't need those lights in Decentraland, but the object will be emitting the reflection of the light, so to say.
Okay, got it.
But that's a
That's
bit
yeah,
more complex.
yeah. We definitely won't touch baking today.
Yeah, nobody wants cookies, I hope. So, anyways, now we got the basics of the turntable, so this is how you can like have your turntable. And I'm going to go back to EV because it's a lot less demanding. And now that we got this set up, I'm just going to click on the cube and delete those because we're going to be practicing how to add some bones into this. So what you want to do is you want to go to add, and then there's going to be an armature button here, and you click on armature. So you might be saying, where's my bone? And you can see a stickman here who's made out of bones, and you click on him, and then you click on viewport display. And then you just tick the box that says in front. And what this does is it just makes like an X-ray vision type of effect on your bone. So we can see our bone inside of the object because it matters where your bone is. If your bone is on the outside, so you can see it, the object's also going to move differently. So that's the first thing you got to know, okay? And just having one bone, it's not really, well, I guess it's not really good. So we want more bones. And there is a quick way on how to do that. You can just press E, which is the extrude button. So I forgot to mention, we got to go to edit mode first. So if you look at the top left corner of your screen, you see here object mode. And then if you click on that, it says edit mode. Okay, alternatively, you can also use the shortcut and just press tab. So if you look here on my screen, it says object mode, and then I press tab. Sorry, it has to be over here, the mouse. Press tab, and then now it says edit mode. So now I can edit my bone. So when I say I can edit my bone, I mean if I click on move, I can change its size, its dimensions. I'm just going to press Control Z to undo that because that was just random. And then now you can see I have my bone here and we can edit that. You can also edit it on scale, but there's really no point on doing that unless you're making something really tiny or, the bone needs to match the size of your mesh. So what we do here is we're on edit mode, and then we click tab to get to edit mode. And then if you press Control R, you can add some vertices. But we're not going to do that because that gets a bit complicated. But as I mentioned before, you can just extrude. So I pressed E on my keyboard, and then I got this other bone coming out of the edge of this bone here. So you can already imagine if this is someone's elbow, and we can literally, just like the cube we had before, we can move this on the time frame here later. But, you know, everything's so unsized and we want it to be even. So I just press escape, by the way. So after that, if I press E, and then instead of like playing with my mouse like this, I just type 1. Then I literally have the exact same size of skeleton that I had before, and I gotta press enter to make sure it's there. But it didn't go in a straight line. So we want to change that. So like before, just like we moved our other cube, like we can also rotate this. And I just want to ask, did it also come sideways for you, or did you get a straight line?
So you did E and then you did 1.
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah, no,
so,
I'm getting a straight line.
okay, so I'm just gonna delete this one and I'm gonna do it again. So I'm gonna press X. No, that's not the right angle. Let's see. Z, I believe. Yeah, so I just pressed E and then Z, and now I hit 1. So now I'm kind of guiding my extrude, which is what the E button does. So it's going this way, and I hit enter. So now I have the same that you do.
I do have a question. Slaterade, if you could show my screen really quick. I'm curious. I'm not sure what's going on here. So, you know, I extruded a bunch of different bones, just playing around with it. And then I'm clicking E to extrude here, but for some reason it's extruding 2 points. And I do not know why that is, because if I delete this bone, it doesn't. Oh, you know what?
You
Is
see
that
that line over there? Yeah, that one. That means it's paired to something further down.
Okay.
So what I'm guessing happened is that you copied 2 of the same bones on top of each other, and then you were copying 2 the whole way throughout within each other or something.
Interesting. Where could my other bone be? Because I see it looks like there's still some armature here. I'll just delete the armature. I'll bring this cube back here really quick, and then we'll go ahead and add another bone in, which is under armature. And then we're going to want to click the in front and then enter edit mode and then extrude. Okay. So this should be good now, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I hope for you. You know, Blender has its own mind sometimes.
Right. Okay, cool. We can swap back to Definite Cash's screen.
Okay, are we back? Am I?
Yep.
Okay, so now that you see that we have our 2 bones, or DCL.curations as 3, and I almost got scared that I had the same bug as you, but that's my light on top of this. So I'm gonna click on, let me think here, just click on the 2 armatures that you have, and we have to press, what was it? Control, and then press the mesh. Yeah, that's what it was. So we selected our bones, and then I selected the mesh by clicking Control. And then the next thing you want to do is press Control P, which stands for parent, you know, and here you want to click connected.
And it is important the order in which you parent, especially for the armatures.
Yeah, so you pick the bones first, and then once you do that, you press Control and you pick the mesh that you want to join them to.
And that makes the bones have control over the mesh instead of vice versa.
Well, sort of, but we're not completely done yet. So the next step that we have to do to make sure it all works is we press tab, and that takes us out of edit mode. And then you can, one second. Yes, so you click the cube this time, and then you click with shift the armatures. And then you press Control P, just like we did before. And then we're gonna have to do an armature deform. So don't click on that, please, because there's 3 different options, you know, and we're gonna go with automatic weights. And this is where the question came in earlier about weight painting. And you see I have a cube with just 2 bones, and if you like start bending this, you can imagine that the cube over here is gonna bend as well. And it's gonna get deformed and it's gonna look weird, and we have to open the weight painting mode for that. But you know, I find myself really distracted while talking and doing this thing. So I'm not sure I did the whole workflow correctly, so I'm just gonna test it now.
Yuri just said, by the way, it's an insane challenge to explain Blender on stream, so appreciate the effort. And I believe somebody earlier, Bjorn Lothbrock, said definite cash must be a genius of the metaverse. so you're doing good.
Well, thank you guys. I'm trying, you know, but I just started learning this stuff recently too. So, you know, I wouldn't say I'm a pro. There are really good people who do this like without even thinking. But, you know, I just wanted to try and explain the basics to all of you. So I hope this video really helps with that. But what we have like just a few, like less than 20 minutes. So let's get a move on the current pose
speed
mode.
ride is about to be a super speed ride.
Yeah, because we need to get to the fun part, you know?
Yeah.
So I clicked on pose mode now after I clicked on my bones. And this is the fun part, I guess. And if I click on rotate over here and I move see, I'm gonna press Control Z and just click one of them, because I had both of the bones clicked, the whole square was moving. So if I just move this one, or just this one, you'll see that I'm deconstructing the cube. But imagine you want the cube to like not turn like this. You want it to like get skinny in the middle, like it's someone who's like a hip going forward, or you know, then you're gonna have to go to weight paint mode. So once I'm just gonna go to object mode, select the armatures. Now where's weight paint mode? It's supposed to be here. Anyway, so when you go onto weight paint mode, you see these colors on your cube, and ours would be blue now because we haven't done any weight painting. And weight painting is a whole like different challenge of its own. But we have automatic weights, which is what I recommend if you're learning. Because if you add another cube here on top of this and connect it to these, which we're gonna show an example of real soon, it's gonna move like a joint in your arm. But if you change the weight painting, it's gonna change how the distortion that we see when I rotate it like this. Oh, I didn't select that. When I rotate it like this, oh my god. Pose mode, remember, always go to pose mode. So when I rotate it like this, it's just not the distortion that we want. So you want to edit that in weight paint mode. But if it's different objects, they're just going to move like limbs on your body. So you don't even have to worry about that with automatic paints. So I do recommend you make like a skeleton and don't put them like this. So when I say all of this, I want to show you an example because it's starting to get really tough to probably follow in the audience. So we're going to go to object mode, and I'm just going to delete the cube and the bones. And I don't know if you want to showcase your worm. I saw you made a pretty nice worm, which is something you can do if you like keep working on this, or if you want to move on to the Decentraland avatar, because that's going to probably take some minutes.
Yeah, I think the Decentraland avatar is going to take a few minutes. I guess I will show a really, really quick worm thing.
Yeah, because the worm is basically like lots of these cubes, or one long cube split into lots of parts, with bones put between them.
Yeah. So Slater, if you want to hop back to mine really quick, my screen. So to do a long worm, for example, we would start off with just a cube. We would take this, we would size it on the x-axis however much we wanted. Entering into edit mode, we can click on loop cut and you'll see the number of cuts up here. Typically you make one, but I don't know, we'll make like 15. So this will actually evenly apply 15 different loop cuts to this item. And now at this point, we can go in and we can actually exit edit mode, add in that armature. Again, making sure you click in front, and then we'll probably want to rotate this on the x-axis, nope, on the y-axis by 90 degrees, size it up a little bit, bring it on down here, and then entering back into edit mode, you would extrude, extrude, and we'll actually add a control 1, should be my subdivide modifier, but we can go in here, we'll add a subdivide modifier really quick.
And real quick, this is just if you want to turn your squares into like this wormy type object.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Modifier. You don't need to do this for the armatures if you have a different object.
Maybe we'll shrink that and bring it over here. But either way, now what it was control P to parent.
Automatic, yeah.
We need to click on this as well. Control P, set parent. I believe I did that right. And now we would be able to enter the pose mode. And okay, what did I do wrong here?
I think you haven't parented it to the body.
Okay, so I take this.
You click on the body first.
Body.
I think you clicked on the skeleton, but you didn't click on the body to do it the other way.
Right. Okay. So we wanted to parent that loop and parents. Okay. So I'm gonna undo.
But I thought you made one. I saw you had one earlier. I thought you were just gonna showcase the worm.
Yeah. Nope. I deleted that when I started this.
Okay.
But
let's
yes.
move on to the avatar then.
Yes, let's do it. And let me grab the link so that people can download that avatar as well. But so Slater, if we want to swap back to Definite Cash's stream, did we get rated? Somebody rated us? What's up, raiders? I don't know who rated us, but awesome. But yeah, so Def Cash, I'm going to pull up the link for the base model avatars that people can download, and you can just go ahead and start animating.
Yeah, so once you've downloaded it, you want to import it into your Blender. So you go to File, and you hit on Import. And this is going to make your life way easier because you can like look for free source meshes like the one Decentraland platform provides and start from there. So you don't have to start from a cube. So you click on Import, and it's really important to double check what file you got. Sometimes, and most times, it comes in a GLB file, and you click on GLTF 2.0 to get that. But for some reason, this one from Decentraland Avatar came as an FBX file. So you click on Import FBX. I'm just going to quickly go to Download. Avatars, I downloaded the male base mesh, but you can also click on the female base mesh depending on your preference or what you're going for. And we got the weight painting already up here now. I don't know why. That's why it's pink. But let me just change the mode to solid so we don't see that. And now you can see we got our character here, and the one that Decentraland provides has like a skeleton. So I'm going to make it easier to see. So we click here and then go in front. So just like what we were doing before, it's the same concept. And as you can see, this one has lots of bones and they're all parented and everything's working. So it's a lot easier to start playing with this instead of having to make everything yourself. But if you wanted to, for example, add a sword in his hand, you can just add a sword and then put the bone in the sword and then connect it to one of these bones like we did before. Or you can extrude a finger and then you have like a wand on your finger. Like really, it's up to your imagination. But to get along with it, so we're going to go to pose mode here because that's where and you have to select the armature first, otherwise you can't do this. So once we've done that, you can see they've all gone into blue. So if I want to wave, for example, I click on this one here, and just like for reference, because most of animating is all from reference, I'm just gonna like try and like wave in real and see how my body is moving. So I can see that I actually don't have to move this one much. It's the next limb that I want to move. So here we have all the 3 different axes. Where's the hand? All the 3 different axes. So if I want to move the hand like a wave motion, I'm gonna probably move this green one here. And let me see, is that right? That's not how I'm moving my arm in real, is it? No. So I'm gonna press Control Z.
You're gonna break your elbow there.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's why reference is so important. So it's this angle over here that I'm moving. And I know this looks counterintuitive. So I'm just gonna press Control Z. And then we're gonna probably, let's see, this is where you have to think about how you're gonna do the movements. So a simple movement like a wave. So we're gonna realize I'm gonna have to move this like this. So Control Z, and then press I. And let's just click on location, rotation, and scale, because that keeps everything easy. And then, I don't remember if I set up my settings this time. No, see, it's on 24 frames. So I'm just gonna ignore that stuff this time because I don't care how the video really looks. I just want to explain how it works. And I'm gonna go to 100. But you have to pay attention to this if you're like filming like a timed video, or you want the timing to be right. So now that I've moved, now that I've moved my time here to 100, I'm gonna also move this. I don't know. This looks kind of natural to this degree, and then I'm gonna press I, location, rotation, and scale. So now I'm doing this. So if I go to 200 frames and I want to move back, but I don't remember how far back or whatever, I can just right click here on my golden colored cube and press copy. And then here around my 200, I just go here, paste. And now I got this movement. And actually, something to watch out for when you're clicking stuff, make sure the second one isn't still highlighted, because that just happened with our case. And I got a third one here. So we can just keep that, or I can delete it, because if I keep it, I guess I won't have a perfect loop in my render, but it doesn't matter. So now that we got this motion set, I'm gonna click on this joint over here. I'm gonna go back to 0. And let's see, for reference on my arm again, I just have to twist this one, right? So if I twist this one like this, and then press I, location, rotation, and scale for this object over here, you see it moved the other arm too, and the movement, but the movement of that part didn't change. So what I'm trying to say, because it just sounds really weird when I'm saying it out loud now, is the rotation that it was moving at 90 degrees didn't change. It's still the same rotation there. But because we have different bones rotating at different angles, we now have, like, if I go like this, a wave. Okay, so this is kind of the wave that I was doing in real.
I think I'm gonna spend all day after this like animating. I'm having I'm having fun animating this guy.
Yeah, so like if you click on this one over here, for example, you can see, like, when I do this over here, we got a little bit of an issue, right? It's not perfect. And the weight painting on this avatar is actually pretty well done. So, if you're making clothing, this is something you should definitely pay attention to. And the easy way to fix this, in my opinion, is to just go into edit mode, click on, let me press escape, and then let's see, and then you just like kind of try and edit the vertices, but that's a lot of work because you have to fix it here too, and you have to control. It's a whole different topic, making wearables,
And we will cover developing wearables in the next, maybe not next week, but the week after that. We will get more into weight painting and wearable creation.
So you can see I'm just gonna move some limbs over here. Let's say we're gonna go like this. I don't know. I'm not doing any of this from reference now, so things are gonna get weird.
It's free form, and I like it.
Let's see that arm. See, now it's looking a bit okay. It's like we're falling, but if I press Shift A, no, Control A, no, let's just select everything, and then I press I, location, rotation, and scale. But look, I'm on 82 frames, so this is a big mistake that I made. But just, you know, you always have to be careful which frame you're on. I was just playing around when we made this freeform, so I'm just gonna location, rotation, scale, and then I can move this around. Oh, see, more things selected, so I can just move this to 100 frames. So make sure you don't move your timeline when you do that, because you're gonna lose your whole animation. So to see, you're gonna have to pose it again, but just put it and then move the thing on the timeline.
Yeah, so I noticed I just did something where I moved the leg, but that leg's not actually oh, you know what?
It's because we didn't make an animation keyframe at the start when he was neutral.
Yep,
But that's
exactly
fine.
why.
That's fine, because now we're, you know, this is why we make mistakes on live things, because you always do mistakes and you gotta fix it. So now this is our starting point. You know, it's not to say that's a bad thing. Like Bob Ross says that it's just a beautiful mistake. See, now we get to start on this cool pose, okay? So if I select everything, and we see that actually if I move this, it will be starting there. So this is how I want to end up looking like. So let's say we move this here like this, and then maybe move this here like this, and then move this thing for the leg like this, and I don't know, put this back a little bit, like before we start. Maybe we're gonna pretend that he's gonna fall or something, you know, but reference, you know, we didn't do any reference, so it's gonna be a silly fall. So let's select everything, I, location, rotation, and scale, and I am on 0 frames, so it's good. So now you can see, whoa, we're like going to that pose there. Do you see? So now his legs are moving. Are they moving for you?
Yeah, I got my guy moving here. We're doing good. I'm not making exactly what you're making, but
that's fine. That's fine. This is where you have to play for yourself. So like all those things that we did earlier seem complicated, but once you have like your setup, and that's going to be the hardest, most time consuming part, is getting everything like working right, and like, because just making one and a second joint is pretty easy, but then adding a third one, and then, you know, like look over here, there's so many in this thumb, you know, like it really takes some time and thinking. But let's just say we're starting from the Decentraland avatar, and I don't like how his back foot is going up there, you know. So let's say I go to 50 frames over here, and I decide, okay, I'm gonna move it so that it's like this. And now I'm gonna put a keyframe, location, rotation, scale, and it's over here. So now it's gonna look completely weird. But it's okay, because that's what I decided. And I want to decide to put another one here to make it even more weird. But yeah, if you have reference, these things are so much more satisfying to view. But you're gonna have to like look at pictures or a video of someone falling for what we're making. But maybe this guy's not falling, he's gonna fly. So let's just move his arm. Here, this one too. Backwards. I'm probably gonna break it. How am I not breaking this? Okay, that looks like he's skating now, you know? And then we can like get a camera. Oh, we already have a camera. Let's click on view, align view to active selected camera. Or was it the first? It's the top one, sorry. Align view to this one, align active camera to view. And then I'm gonna do a little cheeky Control Z to get to where the camera was before. So, you know, you really just have to get creative with how you use these shortcuts. So now we have this here, and I'm like, he's facing the wrong way. So, just like we did before on turning the cube, RX, not X, RZ, was it?
For those of you that were here for last week's stream, this is my biggest issue, not developing items facing the right direction.
Yeah, so you can just click it and then rotate it with these colors, or hitting R and then Z, X, Y, depending on which angle you want it to be. So now we can go back to render image, and you see I didn't set it as a keyframe, so it's over here. We're at 100. So that means if I set a keyframe now, he's gonna turn around like this too, But it really depends if that's what you want or not. Because if you don't want that, you can literally go and copy that keyframe and put it on 0, and then your whole character will just be turned around for the pose. But if you want to have it like this, so we're going to click on render animation. Oh yeah, mind you, this one doesn't have any textures on it, and we're in the weight painting mode, so that's why it's pink. But, or no, sorry, not the weight painting mode. But yeah, so you can actually make emotes like this too, or just film how your things work. But imagine you're making a crane because you're like the invention of a crane, and you need it to move somehow. Like I can also just click on this and drag it, out of pose mode. I need to go to edit mode and drag it away. So this will change your proportions, But you got to be careful with this model because it's already made, so you don't want to change that. So if I go back to object mode, you see this is something that we need to move the mesh. So the size of the mesh needs to change, and then we change the bone so it fits that. So you can really if you have a car, for example, and we go here and we add a mesh, and let me just go for, let's see, where's cylinder? Just gonna move this over here to the side. And then let's say we press I for location rotation scale, go to 100 maybe, press RZ because that's the angle I want to change it on, 180. So it just turns 180 degrees, and then enter, and then I location rotation scale. And now the wheel is turning, right? Or the cylinder here in this case. So if we put a bone onto this, on the top part of this, and there's a car behind this, essentially you can put, just like how this blue arrow is here, you can put a bone and then rotate that like a turntable, like this, how it's already doing here. And then you suddenly have your wheels moving on your car. So if you're making, for example, a water mill, you can just do this simple thing to the mill wheel thing object that you made, and then you add the rotations onto their bone and you connect it. So just like here, how we added the rotations, we just add those rotations. So if I, for example, here go to pose mode, and I'm just imagining that this is what we are making, and I press RZ90, you can see it's going to turn differently because it's connected here, But if it's connected at a straight angle, like this one is connected to this, we can press rotate, and then rotate this angle here. And if you do that, it's going to rotate like a wheel, but the body is not going to spin around. So you can play around with this a lot, and I think I've kind of covered the basics of how to do this. So I think it's time to go to questions.
Yeah, I will. So Slaterade, if you can go back to my screen, I'll share what I've attempted. So this would be how, or this is how Decentraland emotes are created, right? And so I did send that link to Slaterade. It's in the private chat, but it is a link to the Google Drive for the Decentraland base male and base female avatars. And when you import them, they come pre-rigged like this, rigging being that there is mesh that has been attached, or bone structures that have been attached to mesh. So what I've done here is I have created, let's shrink this down. I've created what I think looks somewhat like a person waving, giving a kiss, and then grabbing some ass. So that's what I think this looks like. There's the kiss, then boom, ass grab right there. I think this could be a Decentraland emote. I know a couple of people that would be down for this. But no, this is really cool. I mean, I've always known how to use like bones and armature, but I've just never really spent the time doing, you know, full blown animations. So this is really cool stuff. So I mean, thank you, Definite Cash, for coming on and showing everybody all of this.
Of course.
And like you said, if anybody has any questions currently, let us know, and you know, maybe we can stay on for a couple more minutes answering questions. But if not, you know, we will be available, or at least, you know, myself and the Sandstorm team are available in the Sandstorm Discord for any additional questions, or if anybody just has like very specific issues that are going on with your submission for this week's competition, you know, happy to meet separately. And thank you, Bartholomew. Love learning more animation and rigging techniques. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so this technique that we just did is fairly simple once you get the concept of, you just move an item, you stamp it on the time frame, move the item, you know, stamp it on the time frame. And the way I like to imagine it is you just have a book and you're flipping through the pages really quick, and every page is a frame. You know, that's how they used to make animations back in the day. And that's exactly what Blender is replicating here. Like, if you think like every single one of those is a frame, you can make like really detailed animations. And that's how they used to do it way back. But now you can just say, I'm gonna want frame 1 and 60, and the computer actually does everything in between, all the hard work for you. So use that to your advantage, and, you know, go in between, fine tune it, like make it nice, make it your art, make it your own. But like, don't feel limited by this, because the computer is really just here to help you make everything easier once you get the grasp. And you can reach out to me on Twitter too. It's Definite Cash ETH, with any questions if you're making these poses later on, because that's when you're going to get stuck and have questions. So don't feel shy to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see we just linked that Twitter profile for Definite Cash in the chat as well. So thanks again, Definite Cash. Everybody who's on the stream, really appreciate you showing up and staying with us as we've worked on some animations. Very excited to see what everybody's submission ends up looking like. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us. But other than that, it looks like we are going to shut off the stream and go raid Panda. So stick around for the next live stream, everybody, and thanks again.
Thank you for having me, and thanks, Sandstorm team.
Yes, go Sandstorm. Get those submissions in. Bye, everybody.
See you all.